here in thinking about the terms fertilizer, we all know what that is, right? It's NPK, it's stuff you buy and then you go spread it on and that kind of thing. But then what is the term fertility? And is that the same thing? Oftentimes our initial reaction is to say, well, yes it is, that's like fertilizer. But it's actually a different definition. As the dictionary defines that as the capacity of the soil to provide crops with essential plant nutrients. So it's not the soil that has all these nutrients necessarily. It's the fertile soil is the one that can actually provide it to the plant. And that goes back into this soluble part and are the microbes making it available and these kinds of things. So we want to, we believe very strongly in doing soil tests and looking at the numbers and all that. But we think you got to take it, another step further and look at, okay, what is the plant actually able to get? And is my soil providing those nutrients? Are they available, or are they just kind of sitting there? And then how can we use biology and things to make them available? Dr. Albrecht, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, did a lot of research, and he's the guy that really pioneered the idea that there can be ratios of cations. And he was looking at the ratios of, I think the battery must be going or something here on the pointer. The ratios of calcium, magnesium, etc., that result in the highest levels of minerals in solution. So you look at ratios of calcium, magnesium, and so on, that can affect how much of it's actually in solution or available. There's various charts on what ratio should be and how much calcium, how much magnesium, how much potassium, things like that. We think that's important to look at, but we do subscribe to the idea that you got to consider your type of soil. Do you have a heavy clay soil or do you have a sandy soil? So we don't throw out, oh, there's just a one magic number. Oh, you got to have 5,000 pounds of calcium, or whatever. It's not quite that way. It depends on what soil you have or you're working with. So really you want to look at these percentages in those ratios, kind of. And in a heavy soil, you can get that kind of higher magnesium, lower calcium, lower magnesium kind of ratio. But in a sandy soil, like to the right, then that ratio usually has to be a little narrower because we still want, X amount of magnesium. It's still an important nutrient as well. So just to keep that in mind, and you can, look at that chart later as well. So how can we improve fertility? How do we improve the ability of that soil to provide nutrients to the plant? And we've been talking about some things so far. The aggregates, the tilth, the soil, how air and water moves through it. Mario mentioned residue and breaking that down. We'll keep coming back to that here today. Wise tillage, that's a term that we use to define not any one particular piece of tillage is perfect or is the right thing for everybody, nor is all tillage good, nor is all tillage bad, or whatever. It's about using the right thing at the right time and what's appropriate in your situation. Growing more microbes. Ariel was talking about that, how we can do that. And then the bottom one there, that's kind of what we haven't mentioned much about yet. How can we spoon feed the crop with fertilizer, nutrients that are going to be kind of friendly to our biology? In the industry, there's a lot of use of the terms, the 4 R's in that, and nothing wrong with that. Sometimes, companies can use it to justify what they've already been doing and say, this is the right time, We really think there's something to it, though, considering the source of the product that you use, what kind of material is it, the rate that we're using, can we be most efficient in how we use it, the time, when we put it on, and then the placement, exactly where we put it. And to us, that really comes down to the kind of two key times of can we band apply things to be very efficient at it, and then also the concept of foliar feeding. So we're going to hit on those just a little bit here. And when we do those concepts and follow those practices, we can really be the most efficient, economic, we believe the best way to improve our bottom line. by doing that. The idea of banding, this was done by Dr. Barber at Purdue a number of years ago. And this demonstrates that if we put nutrients concentrated all in a slot or all in one area, you know, the kind of the magnifying power of that. So here they're putting down like 100 pounds of actual N. I'm going to dig myself out another battery while you just go look at that. There, now we got a better pointer. So you're looking at, if you put out 100 pounds of N, 40 of Phos, 80 of K, if you broadcast that over the surface, well, you're actually fertilizing 20 to 40% of the soil volume, like on that surface. If you banded it and placed it down in the soil, it says deep, I don't know how deep that really is, but assume down into the soil below the surface, you've really, in that zone, you've turned 100 pounds of N into 1,500 pounds as far as what's really concentrated right there, you know. So we can take smaller amounts of nutrients, and by putting it right where the plant maybe is going to get to it and need it, you know, really multiply the effect that that's going to have to be available to the plant in that. Because then we're only actually fertilizing 4 to 8% of the soil instead of 20 to 40. So a lot of the other the nutrients then don't get like tied up by the clay or ability to be leached out or lost, whatever. Let's try to put it, you know, right where the plant can maybe get to it. So why are we doing that? We're overwhelming the ability of the soil to fix it, to tie it up by concentrating it all in one place. We're trying to get it near the plant, near the seedling, so it's there when the plant can go out and reach it. We're trying to keep it away from the surface just for environmental concerns, reduce runoff and that. And then for us growing organically, I think a big one, let's favor the crop over the weeds. If we broadcast something out there and we spread, let's say it's manure or something with nitrogen, and we are spreading it out on the surface, well, the whole field, then we've just fed every weed seed that's out there, right? All laying there near the surface. But if we took nutrients and banded it, say near a row, then we're just feeding our crop and the weeds that are nearby, but we're starving, you know, the weeds in between the rows that we're not feeding them. This is an example out in Ohio of a little bit of starter on a soybean field. And just show if we put something out there with that plant early, help get it going, then they really grew faster, filled in better. The farmer commented that they were larger, more even at first cultivation, made it easier to do a job. So as I think a couple of our guys will share this afternoon, you know, one of the keys to cultivating the weed control is how do we get that crop out of the ground, get it off to a good, strong start. So we think banding starters, you know, is a key part of doing that in organic production. Another place that starter really shines, just low fertility. So we have soil tests that are just really not too impressive. We don't want to, you know, go broke trying to build up our soil tests to where they look perfect before we get a good crop. So let's concentrate nutrients right to the plant. And yeah, we can work on building the soil, but we aren't going to do it overnight. So let's try to get good crops in the meantime by feeding those plants more. This is just an example here out in Ohio, I think, actually, where with the organic starter it was like 20 bushel better than the check there. Let's just get the nutrients to the plant first priority. Another place the starter shines, low temperatures. That's a chart by University of Nebraska.